Hi, this is David Davis, and I'm honored to be here with Mr. Kevin Wagner, Vice President of Marketing of Diablo Technologies.
Yeah, thank you.
So we've been talking about your memory channel storage, a really innovative product here. I'm holding 400 gigabytes in a single chip in my hand.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about how this in particular can help electronic trading? I know that's one of the more common use cases, and this is very different than just other traditional flash-based devices. So how could it help electronic trading?
Okay, so this is a very, very low latency device. And so of course, when people hear low latency, kind of the first workload or use case they think of is electronic trading. And this ends up being very good for electronic trading for multiple reasons. One is the low latency, right? So it gives you very, very low latency, and that's of course very, very important in electronic trading.
Okay.
The second thing is that it gives you very deterministic quality to that latency. And so what it means is that you can count on the latency staying low. When you have other solutions like PCIe SSDs, they can give you some low latency. Not as low as this, but it gets pretty low. But what you end up with is jitter. You have latency jitter where you see these spikes that go up to half a millisecond, 1 millisecond. And so the spikes are really bad for electronic trading.
That's interesting because I always heard in the past that PCIe, flash-based devices were, the fastest, lowest latency.
Yeah.
But I never took that into account. That you've got a PCIe bus, and other things are happening on that bus potentially, and that can cause some jitter, which for electronic trading could cost millions of dollars.
Absolutely, that's exactly what happens, and we've seen this, happen quite a bit. We've really analyzed, what happens on the PCIe controllers and the PCIe bus, and there's really a lot of spikes that happen, and that's bad for the electronic traders.
Okay.
But one other really important aspect here is just the performance of the device. So what we end up with is very high transaction rates. We have a partner that we've been working with, 60 East, and they have a messaging platform for electronic trading. And what they saw was compared to PCIe, which is what they have used in the past, they see more than 4 times the number of transactions per second, which is really high. That's a big jump for them. They see very, very low latencies. And like we said, most importantly, what they see is very deterministic quality to that latency. Now, what all of this means for them is that it means on their platform, they can get a lot of trades through, a lot of transactions happening, and there's no spikes in latency, which means they're winning those trades. And so that means millions and millions of dollars to these guys, which is the reason that they're in business.
Amazing, amazing. So how would you install one of these? It looks like it's a memory chip, but if you put 400 gigabytes in the server, it's non-volatile RAM. It's non-volatile storage, not volatile storage, which you would typically have in a memory slot.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a SanDisk product, the SanDisk UltraDIMM, and it uses SanDisk Flash on there.
Okay.
And they built the storage subsystem on there. And it's really on a DIMM form factor. And so when you put it into the system, it goes into the DIMM slots of the system. Whatever DIMM slots you have open, you can put them in there. Of course, there's better ways to configure it and put them in there to get kind of optimal performance. But they install just like a regular DRAM DIMM would be installed. There's a driver that goes along with it for VMware, for Windows, for Linux, and you really use that as a storage device for any of those operating systems or hypervisors.
It's fascinating. It's even easier than installing a traditional SSD drive. In the front of a server, you might have screws, you might have drive trays, and so besides all these other qualities about low latency and deterministic, it's just an amazingly innovative package to me.
Yeah, actually, you bring up an important point here, which is, this goes into a standard DIMM slot, which means it's great for servers. It's, as you say, it's very easy to install, right? No screws necessary, put it in. But one of the areas where we really see a good use for this is in blades. And putting flash into blades in the past has been a real challenge. What you end up doing is building a custom mezzanine card, and you've got to kind of work with a vendor to kind of build this PCIe mezzanine card and put it into the blade. In this case, pops right into a blade. And so so the challenges that existed before in building this custom card, making sure it worked, doing the qualification, this pops right in. And again, you can put multiple of these into a blade, And so if you've got a blade chassis, lots of blades going in, you put lots of them per blade into the chassis and really fill it up to whatever capacity you need for the workload that you have.
That's really cool. That's something I didn't even think about, blade servers. So
absolutely.
Another great use case and application. I really appreciate your time today. If people want to learn more about your memory channel storage, where should they go?
Go to our website, Diablo-Technologies.com.
Great. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.